At my sister's 300-guest wedding, Mom raised her glass and asked, "So when's your turn?" I said, 8 months ago. You were invited. Your favorite daughter threw the invitation in the trash. At my sister's wedding reception, in front of 300 guests under crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than my actual wedding, my mother raised her champagne glass, smiled at me with that particular blend of pity and concern she'd perfected over the years, and asked, "So Caroline, when is it going to be your turn?" The entire reception hall went quiet, not completely silent. The string quartet was still playing softly in the corner, forks were still clinking against plates, but that specific kind of quiet, where everyone nearby stops their conversations to listen because they sense drama coming. I looked at my mother, at my father sitting beside her, uncomfortable as always when attention turned to me, at my sister Bella in her $18,000 Vera Wang gown, her perfectly highlighted hair cascading over her shoulders, her 2 million Instagram followers probably already posting photos of her perfect day. 8 months ago, I said clearly. I got married 8 months ago. You were invited. All of you were invited. But my favorite daughter over there threw the invitation in the trash. The quiet became silence. Absolute suffocating silence. 300 guests stopped mid-conversation. The string quartet's music faded to nothing. Bella's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. "You're lying." Bella's voice cut through the silence like a knife, sharp and desperate. "You're just trying to ruin my day because you're jealous." My mother's confused smile wavered. She looked between Bella and me like she was trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. "Caroline, sweetheart, what are you talking about? We never received any wedding invitation. You never told us you were getting married." "February 12th, I said calmly. My heart was pounding, but my voice stayed steady. I'd practiced this. FedEx overnight delivery, signature required, 4 velvet invitation boxes with hand-tied ivory ribbons. Bella signed for the package at 10:15 a.m. My father stood up, his face already turning that particular shade of red that meant he was about to start yelling. "If you sent invitations and we didn't respond, why didn't you call us? Why didn't you follow up? You expect us to believe you just got married without your family and never said anything?" "Because I trusted my family," I replied, my voice catching slightly on the word trusted. "I waited 30 minutes at my ceremony, staring at your empty reserved seats in the front row. I had painted little wooden signs with your names on them. Mom, I decorated yours with daisies because you mentioned liking them at Thanksgiving 7 years ago. Dad, yours had a golf club because you always talked about teaching me to play, even though you never did. Bella, yours had a little camera because I thought you'd want to film content for your followers." I could feel my throat tightening, but I pushed through. "I stood there in my dress, not Vera Wang, just David's bridal, because I'm an architect, not an influencer, and I waited. My husband Nate's family was so embarrassed for me. His mother kept asking if she should call you. I kept saying you were probably just running late. I'd been estranged from my family in all but name for 6 years, ever since I'd graduated from University of Texas with my architecture degree and moved to Austin instead of staying in Dallas near them. Near them really meant in Bella's shadow, but nobody ever said that out loud. Bella was 3 years younger than me. I was 31, she was 28, but she'd always been the golden child, the beautiful one, the successful one, the one with 2.3 million Instagram followers and brand partnerships with companies like Glossier and Revolve. She made $400,000 a year, posting photos of herself in expensive clothes and talking about her authentic journey. I made $89,000 a year, designing residential buildings and commercial spaces. Good money, respectable money, but not influencer money. Not money that came with free vacations and designer handbags and magazine features. Our parents, Richard and Susan Montgomery, had always favored Bella. I'd known it since I was 7 years old, and Bella got the lead in the school play, while I got to paint sets. Since I was 12, and Bella got a sweet 16 party with 200 guests, while I got dinner at Olive Garden for my 16th birthday. Since I was 23 and graduated summa cum laude and got a card in the mail, while Bella posted her first viral video and got a surprise party with a live DJ. But I'd told myself it didn't matter, that I was the mature one, the independent one, the one who didn't need validation. I'd built a good life in Austin. I had friends, I had a career, and then I'd met Nathan Vance, cybersecurity analyst, kind, funny, the kind of man who remembered how you took your coffee and never made you feel small for not being exceptional. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. Nothing dramatic. Just us on a camping trip in Big Bend under the stars, him asking if I wanted to spend our lives together. I'd said yes. And then I'd made the mistake of thinking my family might care. The invitation boxes had cost me $400 total, handmade by a small business in Austin, velvet-lined with custom calligraphy. Each one contained a formal invitation printed on heavy cardstock, a details card with the venue address and time, and a handwritten note from me. My mother's note said, "Mom, I'd love for you to be there when I marry the love of my life. I know we haven't been close lately, but this day would mean everything to me if you came. Love, Caroline." My father's note said, "Dad, I hope you'll walk me me down the aisle. I've been dreaming about that moment since I was a little girl. Please come. Love, Caroline. Bella's note said, Bella, I know you're busy with your career, but you're my only sister. I'd love for you to be my maid of honor if you're willing. I miss you. Love, Caroline. I'd spent 3 hours writing those notes, trying to find the right words that were honest but not desperate, loving but not pathetic. I'd FedExed them overnight because I wanted to make sure they arrived safely, because I was giving them 6 weeks' notice, plenty of time to plan, to book flights, to clear their calendars. The wedding was March 29th. Small ceremony at a botanical garden in Austin. 50 guests, Nate's family, our friends from work, our college roommates. Simple but beautiful. I'd designed the ceremony arch myself, a wooden structure covered in climbing jasmine. I'd reserved 4 seats in the front row, decorated them with the painted wooden signs, set out programs with "Reserved for Montgomery family" printed on them, and I'd waited. 10 a.m., ceremony start time, no Montgomerys. 10:15 a.m., Nate's mother, Patricia, squeezed my hand and whispered, "Should we wait a bit longer?" I nodded. 10:23 a.m., the minister asked if we wanted to start. I shook my head. 10:30 a.m., I texted my mother, "Running late? Ceremony starting soon." No response. 10:31 a.m., I called, straight to voicemail. 10:33 a.m., I called my father, voicemail. 10:34 a.m., I called Bella. She answered, "What? Are you coming? The ceremony's about to start." "Coming to what?" "My wedding. I sent you an invitation. You signed for it 3 weeks ago." Pause. Long pause. Then, "Oh, that. Yeah, I'm busy today. Photo shoot for a new skincare line. Sorry, can't make it." She hung up. At 10:38 a.m., I started walking down the aisle alone. Nate's father, seeing what was happening, stepped forward and offered me his arm. I took it. I cried through the entire ceremony. Not happy tears, devastated tears, but I married Nate anyway because he was worth it, even if my family wasn't there to see it. Back at Bella's reception, my mother was shaking her head frantically. "Caroline, I swear to you, we never got any invitation. There must have been some mistake. The mail gets lost sometimes. Packages get stolen. You can't possibly think we would intentionally miss your wedding." "That's exactly what I think," I said, "because I have proof." Preston Sterling, Bella's new husband of approximately 6 hours, corporate attorney at Sterling & Associates, son of one of Dallas's wealthiest real estate developers, leaned forward. His lawyer instincts were clearly firing. "Proof? What kind of proof?" I pulled out my phone. "I'm an architect. 6 years ago, I designed the electrical and security systems for my parents' house when they did their renovation. Full smart home integration, professional-grade security cameras, network video recorder with 2-year data retention." I watched the color drain from Bella's face. She knew exactly where this was going. "You're bluffing," she whispered. "The admin password was never changed," I continued, looking at my father. "I recommended you change it twice via email, in 2019 and again in 2021. You never did. The system's been sending me weekly backup reports to my email this entire time. I just never bothered to look at them." I turned my phone around. On the screen was crystal clear 1080p footage from the front door camera. The timestamp read, February 12th, 2024, 10:14 a.m. "Until 3 weeks ago," I said, "when I was designing a security system for a client and remembered I still had access to my own old work. My husband Nate, cybersecurity analyst, by the way, he helped me access the archived footage remotely. Completely legal since it's my own system design, and I never formally relinquished admin rights." I pressed play. The footage played on my phone, but I'd already airdropped it to my iPad and connected to the reception venue's AV system. The video appeared on the massive screens flanking the head table, the same screens that had been showing Bella's professional engagement photos all night. 300 people watched. FedEx truck pulling up. Driver in uniform carrying a distinctive blue and white package, walking to the front door, ringing the doorbell. Bella answering. She was wearing black yoga pants and an oversized hoodie, her hair in a messy bun, no makeup. The real Bella, not the Instagram version. She signed the driver's tablet, accepted the package. Then the critical moment. Bella looking down at the return address label, reading it, her expression changing from neutral to something cold and calculating and cruel. I watched her mouth move, reading aloud, "Caroline and Nate Vance." She glanced around, checking to see if anyone was watching from inside the house. Then she walked to the side of the house where the recycling bins sat behind decorative lattice screening. No hesitation, no pause, no moment of guilt or consideration. She opened the blue recycling bin and hurled the package inside like it was garbage, like my wedding invitation was trash. Then she turned and walked back into the house, pulling out her phone, laughing at something on the screen. The video ended. The reception hall stayed frozen. 300 people staring at the screens. At Bella, at me. Preston's face had gone carefully, deliberately blank. The kind of blank that lawyers get when they're processing information that changes everything. He turned to Bella slowly. "You threw your sister's wedding invitation in the trash?" "I can explain," Bella started, her voice high and panicky. "Because you were jealous?" Preston's voice was quiet, controlled, which somehow made it worse than if he'd been yelling. "Because you couldn't handle anyone else having a moment that wasn't about you?" "Preston, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You gave her that book as a wedding gift tonight, that How to Die Alone book. I thought it was a weird joke, but you knew she was married this whole time. I'd almost forgotten about the gift. When I'd arrived at the reception, I'd been invited as a guest, not a bridesmaid, because apparently I wasn't close enough to the family anymore. Bella had made a big show of giving me a wrapped present in front of her friends. Since you're still single, she'd said loudly, I thought this might help. Then she'd laughed, and her friends had laughed, and I'd opened it to find a book called How to Die Alone, a guide for the rest of us, with a pink cover and a cartoon of a sad woman with cats. I'd smiled, said thank you, put it in my purse, because I'd been saving my moment. You humiliated her at Christmas, Preston continued, his voice getting harder. I was there. I watched you tell everyone at the family dinner that Caroline was going to end up alone with cats. I watched you post on Instagram about how sad it was that your older sister couldn't find anyone, and the whole time you knew she was married. My mother tried to intervene. Preston, let's not be hasty. Bella made a mistake, but surely we can— A mistake? Preston pulled his wedding ring off, the platinum band he'd been wearing for exactly 6 hours and 43 minutes. He placed it on the reception table with a deliberate click that echoed through the microphone system. Mrs. Montgomery, your daughter is cruel. Deliberately, calculatedly cruel, and I won't spend my life with someone who destroys other people for sport. Bella's face crumpled. You can't do this. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Preston, please, I love you. You don't love anyone but yourself, he said. You proved that when you threw your sister's wedding invitation in the trash. You proved it every time you humiliated her. You proved it tonight when you gave her that book. He turned to me. I'm sorry for what my family's company is about to do, but you should know, you deserve to know, that this isn't your fault. His father, Harrison Sterling, stood beside him. He was a tall man in his 60s, distinguished in the way that old money makes people distinguished. He looked at my father with an expression of pure disappointment. Richard, that merger project we discussed, the commercial development in Fort Worth, consider it canceled. Sterling Group doesn't do business with families that lack integrity. My father's face went ashen. I knew about that merger. Dad had been talking about it for months. His property development company partnering with Sterling Group on a $50 million mixed-use development. The deal that was supposed to set up his retirement. The deal that would have made him genuinely wealthy instead of just comfortable. Harrison, please, Dad said, standing up. We can talk about this. This is a family matter. It doesn't need to affect business. It affects everything, Harrison said coldly. Your daughter systematically excluded her sister from a major life event, lied about it for months, and publicly humiliated her. That speaks to character, to values, and those are things that absolutely affect business. He looked at Preston. Son, get your things. We're leaving. Bella whirled on me, mascara running, voice climbing toward hysteria. This is your fault. You ruined my wedding. I'll destroy you on social media. I have 2.3 million followers. I'll tell everyone what you did. Federal mail tampering, I interrupted calmly. Title 18, United States Code, Section 1708. Interfering with the delivery of mail is a federal crime, up to 5 years in federal prison. That package was sent via FedEx, which operates under federal regulations. You signed for it, acknowledged receipt, and then destroyed it. I looked at her directly. One post about me, one single post trying to spin this story, and that video goes to the police, to FedEx's investigation department, and to every single one of your brand sponsors. Glossier, Revolve, Sephora, all of them. Let's see how many want to be associated with someone facing federal charges. My mother gasped. You wouldn't. I absolutely would, I said. I waited at my wedding for 30 minutes. I cried through my entire ceremony because my family didn't come. I spent 8 months thinking I wasn't worth your time, wasn't worth your love, wasn't worth a single day away from Dallas, and the whole time, Bella knew exactly why you didn't come. I picked up my purse. Enjoy your wedding night, what's left of it. The last thing I saw as I walked out was Bella collapsed in her chair sobbing, Preston walking away with his father, and 300 guests staring in absolute silence. The aftermath was brutal and swift. By the next morning, the video had leaked. I never posted it, never shared it anywhere, but someone at that reception had recorded my phone screen and uploaded it to TikTok. By Monday morning, it had 4.7 million views. The comments were savage. The sister is evil. Who does this? The way she just threw it in the trash without even thinking about it. Pure sociopath behavior. And then gave her the How to Die Alone book at her own wedding. I cannot. Preston Sterling is a king for walking out. Respect. Bella's Instagram comments became a nightmare. Every post, every single one going back months, was flooded with comments about the video. How could you do that to your sister? Trash person. Literally. Your followers deserve better than someone this cruel. Within 48 hours, Bella lost 340,000 followers. Within a week, 3 of her major brand partnerships issued statements pausing their relationships pending further review. Glossier dropped her entirely. Revolve quietly removed her from their affiliate program. My mother called 63 times in the first 3 days. I didn't answer. She left voicemails, crying, begging, explaining explaining that she didn't know, that Bella had told them I'd eloped and didn't want them there, that it was all a misunderstanding. My father sent emails, tried to explain about the Sterling deal falling through, about how Bella was going through something and needed family support, about how I was being cruel by not accepting their apologies. On day 4, a FedEx package arrived at my house in Austin. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a typed note on my father's business letterhead. "Caroline, I'm sorry for everything that happened. This should help make up for what we missed. Please don't share any more videos or information about the family. The Sterling situation has damaged my business significantly, and we need this to go away quietly." I stood in my kitchen holding that check, feeling something break inside me that hadn't quite broken before. He was trying to buy my silence, not apologizing for missing my wedding, not apologizing for believing Bella over me, not apologizing for 6 years of making me feel invisible, just trying to pay me to shut up. I tore the check into pieces, small pieces, confetti-sized pieces. I arranged them artfully on my kitchen counter, photographed them with my phone, and sent the photo to the Montgomery family group chat. "I don't sell my silence," I typed. "I'm gifting it to you for free. Don't contact me again." Then I left the group chat. Bella created a burner Instagram account 2 weeks later to send me a message. "Please, Caroline, I'm so sorry. Everything's falling apart. I lost half my followers. I lost my brand deals. Preston won't even talk to me. Mom's on antidepressants. Dad's business is suffering. Please just tell people it was a misunderstanding. Tell them we made up. I'll do anything." I read it twice. Then I blocked the account. My therapist, Dr. Rebecca Huang, 15 years in practice specializing in family trauma, had warned me this would happen. "People who hurt you will eventually come back asking for forgiveness when they face consequences," she'd said in our session the week after the wedding. "But forgiveness doesn't mean relationship. It doesn't mean you owe them access to your life." "I don't know if I can forgive them," I'd told her. "You don't have to," she'd replied. "Forgiveness is optional. Healing isn't. You focus on healing." So I did. I blocked my parents' numbers, changed my email address for everything except work, made my social media accounts private, built a wall between their chaos and my peace. 3 months later, on New Year's Eve, I spent it with Nate's family in Seattle. His parents had rented a house on Puget Sound with views of the Space Needle. 23 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, all crammed into one house, cooking together, playing board games, watching the fireworks over the water. Nate's mother, Patricia, pulled me aside before midnight. She was wearing a sapphire brooch that had belonged to her grandmother, a real family heirloom, passed down through 4 generations. "I want you to have this," she said, unpinning it from her dress. "Patricia, I can't. It's a family heirloom." "You are family," she interrupted firmly. She pinned it to my dress, right over my heart. "You've been family since the day you married my son. Since before that, really. From the first time Nate brought you home and you spent 3 hours helping his father fix the deck without being asked." She hugged me tight, and I felt the brooch pressing against my shoulder. A real family heirloom, passed down with actual love, not because someone was trying to buy forgiveness or impress people on social media. "Any regrets?" Nate asked later as fireworks exploded over the Space Needle in bursts of gold and silver and blue. I thought about the empty chairs at my wedding, the 30 minutes of waiting, the cruel book Bella had given me, the check torn into confetti pieces. "Not one," I said. He kissed me as the countdown hit midnight, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years around my family. Safe, valued, loved. 6 months after the wedding, I got an email from Preston Sterling's lawyer. Not from Preston himself. I guess his lawyer thought that was more appropriate. The divorce had been finalized. Bella had signed without contesting. Preston had paid her $75,000 to walk away quietly and sign an NDA preventing her from discussing the marriage or its dissolution publicly. "Mr. Sterling wanted you to know," the email concluded, "that your video gave him clarity about who he'd married. He's grateful, in retrospect, that you showed him the truth before he invested more time in the relationship. He wishes you and your husband well." I showed the email to Nate. He read it twice and then looked at me. "Do you feel vindicated?" "No," I said honestly. "I feel sad for all of us, for the family we could have been if anyone had just cared." "Their loss," Nate said, pulling me close. "Completely their loss." Bella tried to rehabilitate her image, posted a carefully worded apology on Instagram about making mistakes and learning and growing, never mentioned me by name, never actually took responsibility, just vague platitudes about being human and imperfect. Her followers didn't buy it. The comments were brutal. She eventually deleted the post. Then she deleted her entire Instagram account and started over with a new handle, new branding, trying to rebuild from 47,000 followers instead of 2.3 million. Last I heard from mutual acquaintances, people who knew both of us but weren't close to either, she was working as a social media manager for a small boutique in Dallas, making $45,000 a year, living with our parents because she couldn't afford her own place anymore. My father's business recovered eventually. The Sterling deal was dead, but he found other partners, other projects, smaller projects, less prestigious, but he survived. My mother sent me a birthday birthday card this year. No return address, but I recognized her handwriting. Inside was a simple note. I'm sorry I didn't come to your wedding. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I wanted you to know that I think about you every day. Love, Mom. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Dr. Huang says that's okay. That I get to decide what forgiveness looks like, what relationship looks like, what family means. That I'm allowed to build a new definition with people who actually show up. And I have. Nate's family throws me birthday parties, remembers my favorite foods, asks about my architecture projects, and actually listens to the answers. His mother texts me photos of her garden and asks for design advice on the gazebo she's planning. It's not the family I was born into, but it's the family I chose. And sometimes that's better. Last week, Nate and I were having dinner with his parents when Patricia asked about our plans for the future. We're thinking about kids, Nate said, squeezing my hand. Maybe in a year or two. Patricia's face lit up. Oh, how wonderful. Have you thought about names? We had. We'd been talking about it for months. If it was a girl, we wanted to name her Patricia, after Nate's mother. If it was a boy, we wanted to name him James, after Nate's grandfather, who'd passed away 2 years ago. We want our kids to be named after people who showed up, I said. People who were actually there when it mattered. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. She reached across the table and took my hand. Your children are going to be so loved, so surrounded by family who will show up for every moment. And I believed her. Because she'd proven it. She'd shown up to my wedding when my own mother hadn't. She'd included me in family traditions. She'd made space for me at the table. That night, driving home, Nate asked, "Do you think you'll ever talk to your parents again?" Maybe, I said. Someday, when I'm ready, if I'm ever ready. And if you're not ready, then I'm not. And that's okay too. He nodded, didn't push, didn't try to convince me that family was worth forgiving just because they were family. Just accepted my answer and moved on. That's what real family does. They accept you. They show up. They don't throw your wedding invitations in the trash and then act surprised when you're hurt. I'm not the Montgomery daughter anymore. I'm Caroline Vance, architect, wife, future mother, daughter-in-law to people who actually act like family. I design buildings. I design spaces where people feel safe, where they feel at home, where they feel valued. And I've learned to design my life the same way, with careful planning, with strong foundations, with walls that keep out the people who would do harm. Bella made her choice when she threw that invitation in the recycling bin. My parents made their choice when they believed her lies instead of calling me. They chose their comfort over my truth. And I chose myself, chose my husband, chose the family that actually showed up. I have zero regrets about playing that video at Bella's wedding. Zero regrets about exposing the truth. Zero regrets about walking away from people